Welcome back to Press Review. Before we go into our Middle East top stories in depth, let's start as usual with the front pages here in the UK. The Herald says SNP Minister and Education Secretary Michael Russell has labelled the UK's immigration policy revolting, saying it is influenced by UKIP and was damaging Scottish universities. The Guardian shows a photo of an Afghan refugee girl and says the GCHQ mass surveillance is probably illegal and in breach of human rights and privacy laws. Legal advisers have warned that Britain's surveillance law is too vague, allowing the agency to take advantage. The Independent says the UK will take its share of Syrian refugees, according to Nick Clegg. The paper also says News of the World editor Coulson listened to hacked voicemails. Coulson also acted as former media chief to David Cameron before being exposed in the hacking affair. The Telegraph says the number of elderly people being taken to A&E units has doubled in 5 years amid warnings from senior doctors that patients and health professionals are losing faith in care outside hospitals. The paper also shows a photograph of jilted French First Lady Valérie Trierweiler on a humanitarian trip to India. Now let's take a look at the top stories in the Middle East. Turkey's Hürriyet Daily says Erdogan has slammed local and international media, business groups, investors and opposition groups, saying they have carried out smear campaigns against Turkey. The paper also shows a photo of protesters in Ukraine saying the Prime Minister resigned to defuse the crisis there. The Khalij Times shows a picture of former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi inside a courtroom in Cairo on Tuesday. The trial has been adjourned to February 22nd. The paper also says work has begun on a new building project in Dubai labelled an iconic destination community project. And from Amman, the Jordan Times features a headline quoting Deputy US Secretary of State William Burns, saying the US will take into account Jordan's economic concerns and its interests in the Middle East peace process. The Lebanese Daily Star says politicians will meet in the next 48 hours to decide the fate of a new cabinet after mediation attempts to agree on a national unity government failed to clinch a deal. The paper also says Tunisia has approved a technocratic caretaker government following a marathon session broadcast live on national television. Now let's take a look at the top headlines from international papers. The Ukrainian newspaper Day shows a picture of riot police and politicians voting in parliament and asks how to put an end to what's going on. The Moscow Times says Putin has promised that Russia will not interfere in the political conflict in the Ukraine and criticised EU officials for visiting opposition protests. The paper also mentions the resignation of Ukrainian Prime Minister Azarov on Tuesday, an attempt by President Yanukovych to calm protests. The China Daily says a former World Bank chief economist has said the dominance of the US dollar is the root cause of global financial and economic crises. He said the solution to this is to create a global currency to stop financial crises reoccurring. The paper also shows Hong Kong workers killing birds suspected of carrying the bird flu virus H7N9. The Washington Post shows Obama preparing to deliver his fifth State of the Union address and says he pledged to advance agendas that Congress had blocked. He is looking to restore confidence after a dispiriting year, the article says. The paper also writes that Pentagon investigations point to a military system that promotes abusive leaders in the armed forces. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Goodbye for now. Please join us tomorrow for another press review with Carl.